Good afternoon. It's February the 16th, 1999. Tom Bush and I, I'm Mayo Livingston, Tom Bush and I are from the Southwest Georgia Regional Library. This afternoon we are interviewing Loyd Poitevint, who served in the United States Navy during World War II. Loyd, tell us about, I believe you said that you were at the University of Georgia and you tried to get into the Air Force or officers training, and this was about 1938, I believe, and they turned you down. Is that right?
Yeah, I passed everything except I was found slight red-green colorblind, and they applied for a waiver, but it was never granted. There were 36 of us accepted, and I was the only one that had to wait. I asked for a waiver and didn't get it, so I was not able to get into the Air Force.
But that was 1938,
That's
even
1938.
two or 3 years before the war. When the war came, you just you didn't join at first, and you just said took your chances on the draft.
That's right. I volunteered for the Officer Candidate School of the United States Navy right after Pearl Harbor, and I was turned down because I had a pterygium on my left eye, and all the doctors told me don't allow them to cut that thing off because they didn't know the proper procedure, and I'd have difficulty with that eye the rest of my life.
When did you join? When did you finally get drafted and went into the Navy?
I went into the United States. I was drafted and asked for the United States Navy and went in March 1944. I went to boot camp up at Camp Perry, Virginia. Came back to Bainbridge for a week or 10 days. I was accepted in radar school. I went to Virginia Beach and the old Cavalier Hotel and went to radar training school, which lasted 3 weeks, and became a radar operator. From there I went to New York and went to Pier 92, and from there I went aboard a transport, a small freighter. I only had about 30 of us people aboard ship, all of us assigned to a destroyer, and we crossed the Atlantic on the North Atlantic route in a huge convoy. And on the 7th of June, the captain came up and told us that, fellas, I got news for you. We aren't going into Londonderry. That's where the destroyer that we were all assigned to was operating out of. Your ship was sunk yesterday. From there, we diverted us into Liverpool, which is where the freighter was going with its cargo.
And the ship that was sunk at D-Day, and that was the one you were assigned to.
That's right.
This was June the 7th, 1944.
That's right. And that was on the 7th. That's when he notified us we would not be going to join the ship. That was a destroyer that they sunk and ran to the ground and used it for a gunboat, so to speak, on the beaches off of France. I went into a pool, and eventually was assigned to LCI 11, and my first trip to the beach was June the 16th, which is 10 days after D-Day, and I became lead helmsman on that ship, and I struck the quartermaster, and we made round trips, carried replacement troops over to Omaha and Utah Beach. We eventually was assigned to the British Navy, and we hauled practically all of our troops then into Juneau and Seward. Juneau was the beach from which Montgomery's headquarters was, and so forth. We saw them more than one time on the beaches. That was a battered ram. Brahma was slamming into them, trying to break through and cut off supplies to Patton and Hodges and those people making the advance through Europe. I don't think we ever crossed it with people, ships being sunk. It was, I never will forget, they had asked us to Southampton and said it must be hell out there. I remember making a statement one day myself. I said, no, but we see hell from where we are.
Well, is that what you had?
No, that's the ship I was on in the Pacific.
Okay,
I don't have a picture of the LCI.
But did you go ashore? Was it? could you drop the ramp and go ashore?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you have to land on one of the docks out of the mulberries or the gooseberries, or one of
We
the artificial?
went through those, we call them, they were breakers, that they sunk ships and used those
Okay,
concrete
right.
things and so forth. And most of the time we went in and put them on the beach. There were times when we used the ramps that they had they carried those ramps in, and they were floating metal ramps. But we like to use those because they had the weight in water not much. We only drew about 2 foot in the bow and about 4 in the stern. But most of the time we would put them on the ramps, preferably.
Now you mentioned that you were a helmsman,
Yeah.
which actually that means you had the wheel.
Yeah.
But now you were trained as a radar.
That's right. That's right.
What did you feel? Could you? I guess you did handle it. I mean, you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When they say, well, you know, when they say steady as you go, you're on your own. And this captain that I had on that ship said that the first trip I made over, he put me on the wheel because he just lost his lead helmsman. He said he had anybody else that he liked to steer the thing. And he worked with me all the way across the channel. And he said, I'm going to turn it over to you just before we got to the beaches. He said, you got to feel. You can feel the ship moving before the bow moves, so you can steer them from the stern. You have to counteract those, you know, proper way. Instead of waiting for the bow to move, make your rudder, use your rudder ahead of time.
How did he lose his helmsman? Was he killed?
Well, no. That was the fortunate thing about me. I was never on a ship that anybody was really seriously injured, and nobody was ever killed.
Well, was anybody? Did you come under fire anytime? Well, no, the German Air Force was pretty well.
Pretty well. The biggest problem we had was floating mines. The current flows south out of the North Sea through the channel. The Germans, of course, had even a harbor, you know. Mm-hmm. Montgomery bypass for a harbor, but they were putting those floating mines in. The other thing was they were flying these pressure mines in at night and dropping those. And there were a lot of them that they didn't get up before they made the invasion.
Well, were you there when
that was most of the problem.
Were you there when that big storm hit?
Yes. Yeah. Well, not the worst of it, but it stormed for about 2 months. I mean, it was really, most of the time I was over there, it was either two things, either storming or fog. We hardly ever had a clear day.
Well, did you lose any ships in that, in your group in that?
Yeah, we had 26 ships in our flotilla. And Eisenhower determined that when Montgomery bypassed La Havre, there was not supposed to be all this many Germans in there, but there were millions of refugees. And the United States Navy, you know, the Allied navies, decided not to bombard it, and they didn't bomb it after he bypassed it. And they were going to make a sneak raid and take that harbor. And we sent 13 ships over there. Each one of them had 300 Rangers on it, and plus a crew. And all of them never returned. I talked to one of the kids that was on the LCI-13 that ran with us a lot. On the ship coming back, he'd been in the hospital for a long time, and he said he was the only survivor. That was the debacle where they dropped the paratroopers downtown. The Germans blew the LCIs out of the water. And
this was at La Havre.
it was a real debacle, real debacle. It's rumored that there was more people lost in that raid than there was in Omaha and Utah put together on D-Day. And kept buried all those years.
But that was about what, several weeks after D-Day, right?
Yeah, that was probably in June. That was probably around the middle of August. I mean, the middle or the latter part of July. Excuse me. I don't remember the dates.
After you were hauling ashore Army personnel.
Yeah.
And
bringing German prisoners back after
back to England.
Back to Southampton. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that must have you were involved in that on through 1944.
Yeah, well, I got into New York on December the 3rd. And it took us, that was a huge convoy coming back, mostly empty ships. But we had the exchequer, there was 5,000 of us on it. And we got caught in a nor'easter in the North Atlantic, which is the worst storm I've ever been in. And I was in several typhoons out in the Pacific. But that was a monster. The waves would break over the bow of the exchequer, which was probably 8 decks out of the water. And they looked like a building coming at you and crashing into the deck. We got in New York, like I said, got in New York. It was December 3rd, we were 5 days late.
Well, did you take any of the German prisoners on back to the United States?
No.
Well, as far as you know, they were still in England.
The only prisoners we had coming back to the States were people that was that Army personnel that had been convicted of San Quentin Pueblo and stuff like that, you know. We must have had 100 of those people on there.
And you came on back in December 1944.
Right.
Now, your idea then, or the idea of and you were way down the line, I mean, you were an enlisted man,
Yeah.
but you knew what was going on. You all were gonna move. They gave you some leave time to come
Yeah,
home.
we had. I didn't tell them exactly the truth about how long I'd been over there, but I got a 30-day leave, and I went back to Norfolk and joined a Lucas crew for an LST, and we went through training up there at Camp Bradford, which is right there in Virginia Beach area, you know, on the Chesapeake Bay, and we got through training there. We were transferred from there to Pittsburgh and picked up the ship that we're looking at there, the 1045 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
This one, can you pick that up?
We picked that ship up in Pittsburgh. Now, the Coast Guard carried it to New Orleans, then they turned it over to us.
Well, you say you got a 30-day leave after you did come home.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
I spent Christmas 1944 at home.
And then you went back. Now, this was an LST.
That's an LST, yeah.
Now, but that's not what you had when you were in Europe.
No, that was an LCI.
That was a lot.
Much smaller ship.
Oh, small, yeah. All right. Then you all picked this up in New Orleans.
In Pittsburgh. Carried it to New Orleans, put the mast and the ammunition racks and stuff like that in it, and went through shakedown down to Panama City Beach and Dog Island and St. George, Cape San Blas, and there were 8 of us LSTs that was in that maneuver, and that was called a shakedown. And then they carried us back into Mobile, Alabama, and loaded all of us up with ammunition. Sent us up to New Orleans. We filled all the ballast tanks. I think we took on 365,000 gallons of fuel, and we had 33 or 3,400 tons of ammunition, including about 50 tons of gunpowder. And we carried that down the Caribbean through the Panama Canal Zone into Pearl Harbor.
Were you in a convoy then?
No, we really didn't have a convoy. The Japs at that time had nothing in
Did you have a destroyer along with you?
No,
you on your own,
Yeah.
with all that ammunition. Ooh. And you went through the Panama Canal and
That's right.
and you went on up to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, we went to
Where?
we went into Pearl Harbor, and how they let us in there, I don't know, because when they found out what we had loaded, we had red flag, a small red flag on it, and they came out and all the conversation you ever heard, get this stuff out of here, and they sent us way north and anchored us on a bay get us out where there wasn't nobody except us. We went from there then to Eniwetok, and I don't know why we went in there, but then we went to Eniwetok, and from there we went to Guam.
But did you have ammunition then?
Oh yeah, we
You still loaded up with ammunition. You had not unloaded
we went into Guam and unloaded the ammunition. All of it was one LST that they sent on to Okinawa, and I'll cover it later. And of course, when you're unloading or loading ammunition, the crew, everybody leaves. You leave 3 men on there. That's the most dangerous part about it. And by the way, going back to loading ammunition, my little daughter asked me, granddaughter, Katie asked me, if what did Joyce say when I told her goodbye? And I said, well, nothing. And she said, y'all cry? I said, no, we didn't cry. And she said, you were loaded with ammunition? I said, yeah, but your grandmother didn't know that. I said, loose lips sink ships. She had no idea what we had on that, so I said, well, I'll see you, baby.
Well, now, when you last saw your wife, Joyce, you knew you were going to be carrying that ammunition?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but you just didn't say tell her. Okay. And you went from Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, down to Inowita.
Yeah, over to
and
Guam.
then over to Guam.
Now, by the way, when we got to Guam, got the ammunition unloaded, they loaded us up with a number of things. I don't remember what it was. But one thing that we had was we loaded the home with a prefabricated house that Stillwell was going to live in. Buckner got killed in Okinawa. He'd already been killed then. And Stillwell was taking his place. And that was it. We had refrigerators, stoves, generators. We had tanks and so forth for fuel and all this stuff. And went into Okinawa. And when we got into Okinawa, we pulled in on the beach. And I looked and saw this LST that didn't unload. And it looked like a sardine can, blown off, nothing left. And I couldn't wait to get ashore. I asked the guard there, I said, what happened to that ship? How many people were killed on it? And he said, 3 of the crew, plus everybody that was working on unloading and whatever, And I thought to myself, how unfortunate they were.
That was an ammunition ship.
That was ammunition.
Just for the record, if you could remember, what kind of ammunition was it? Mostly machine gun bullets,
it was all the
rifle clips?
Practically everything we had on our ship, now that was not true with all of them, everything we had on our ship was 8-inch shells, I think. There may have been some 5, but most of it was cruiser stuff, 8-inch shells, plus all the gunpowder for them.
Well, when you got to Okinawa, you did that's when you finally unloaded.
That's right.
And it was 3 sailors had to stay aboard.
Well,
and,
no, we didn't have ammunition. See, we unloaded our ammunition at Guam. We had a regular.
At Guam, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. That was right in the midst. We got part of that stuff unloaded, I remember, and for some reason there was so much stuff that they needed ashore. They pulled us back out because we didn't have what they call, cargo that was badly needed for the forces fighting on the island. And we stayed up there 10 days before we finally got completely unloaded. And that's when the suicide planes, they were using a Z-kit. That's what we called it. The Japs have another name for it. And it was a rocket-fired bomb, really, with wooden wings on it that they dropped from Betty bombs. And they'd come down and fly them about 20 foot or 30 foot off the water and fly through that huge anchorage. It was just off Yellow Beach in Okinawa. They blew the Thatcher, which was a destroyer, up that was actually anchored next to us. And I remember the night we flew that thing in there. I asked the guy on #1 gun tub, I said, Bundy, did you see that? And he said, if I'd stuck my hand up, I could touch the wings. He flew right over his gun tub and hit it and blew the whole superstructure off. It killed about 100 people.
Well, and when you went back to the Pacific, did you utilize your radar skills anymore?
Well,
what were you doing aboard?
To some extent, I was lead helmsman on that ship.
You were still in the helm.
Yeah, they go through the whole crew, and I wound up lead helmsman on it. And they're the most difficult ship in the world to steer. Nobody can steer them very well, but I guess, must have been better than anybody else. And but it was a situation. The captain, there was 8 of us enlisted men, and there were 2 officers, and that's the only people on that ship that had ever been to sea before. And they was chiefs on their way. They came from Bainbridge, Maryland, Great Lakes Naval Training Station, places that, you know, they had been in the service.
Right.
One of them was a chief, and a bunch of first-class petty officers, but none of them had ever had any experience. We were what they call a nuclear crew. And the captain was on North Atlantic cruise, on North Atlantic run going to Normandy. On a gunnery officer on some kind of a, you know, ship that was armed with 1 gun or something like that. And the executive officer, he also had been to sea, and he had been a navigator on a DD, I don't know where, destroyer. And he fouled up somewhere, but he wound up on LST.
Well, how many people were on it total?
Well, we had a crew of 116 people, but we could carry, in an emergency, we could carry 1,000 people and feed them 1 meal a day.
Yeah, but this is the crew now.
Yeah, the crew's 116.
Yeah.
And when we had a normal contingent of troops was 550. We could carry that many plus the crew and feed them 3 meals a day. It's 528 foot long, which is 55 foot wide, so that's close to a football field, you know.
The Okinawa, I believe, was in April of 1945.
That was when the invasion was.
Yeah.
They were still fighting when we were there. I mean, we made several trips up there.
What did you carry? More replacements or?
Yeah, we hauled so many troops too. We picked up a load of pilots that had got that's the baddest people I ever saw in my life. We picked up a load of pilots that had flown from 50 to 60 missions over in Italy. They brought them by Cuba through the Panama Canal and carried them to Lingay Gulf out there in Luzon, Luzon, without letting them come home. Those guys said they came almost to the side of the land.
You mean they left Italy? They left Italy.
That was a mad bunch of people.
They left. The war was over in Europe.
Yeah.
And
they were
and they were getting ready to. They wanted them in the invasion of Japan.
That was a mad bunch. We were a number. Some of the tough experiences out there. We were in. The worst one was the typhoon that blew Okinawa away. We were on Yellow Beach unloading, and we had to dog down part of the cargo, and it put us in out to sea because that typhoon was coming in. And when we stayed in that typhoon for I think 7 or 8 days, and when we took our first star sight, we were off our charts. We were in Jap water. We were almost 400 miles northeast of Okinawa. That's how far that storm had carried us. And the winds got up, according to the Franklin, which lost a fourth of his flight deck, about 100 men in that storm. They were within 2 miles of us. We were talking to them on the radio when that happened. And they said that they registered winds up to 250 miles an hour, and they lost their wind gauge. We lost ours at 150, which was early in it. And we were in 5 of those things. I think there was only 5 out there, and we got caught in all of them.
Yeah. Now that was in the spring of 1945, and the war. By then probably they had secured Okinawa.
Yeah. Well, Okinawa was really not secured until somewhere right around the time that they dropped that bomb. It was pretty close.
Well, now,
September. It was in August.
You all were getting ready, you all had unloaded at Okinawa, and did you go back to Guam to?
No.
You knew the invasion was coming up.
Yeah. We went. We really didn't know the invasion was coming up, but when we came back, we operated out of Saipan. We went in and out of Saipan for when we left Guam, we went to Saipan. But now we went to the Philippine Islands, we went all over the Pacific for various and sundry purposes. And we came from,
You were still on this boat?
yeah, we came from Saipan back into, from Okinawa back into Saipan. And when we were coming in about 100 miles out, they radioed us to shut our evaporators down. We evaporated our own fresh water and whatever. And with the time we'd have to pick up water. We'd carry a lot of troops or something. We'd have to pick up water, but we just had the crew on it coming back empty. And we wondered, why shut them off? And it wasn't long before you could tell that the ocean was beginning to have a little bad odor to it and whatever. And when we got within sight of Saipan, I remember the skipper, he was talking to me on the voice tube. He said, "We see something, lots of ships anchored." And he said, "I'm just wondering what's going on." We kept running and running, and then we began to run into the sewage and trash.
For these other ships?
Yeah, from those ships. And we got in there, and this was just before they dropped the bomb. This was the day, 2 days before they dropped the bomb. And it was just nothing, just ships. And we went all the way into the ramp area, and somebody made a statement. They counted 20 transports, and the trash, cardboard boxes, and the whole ocean just smelled like a sewage dump. And we went in and loaded up the tanks and this, that, and the other, and so forth. Went back out and anchored, and that's when they called us in. And it was me, the communications officers, the captain, and the navigator. And we were the only ones that were briefed and whatever. That's when they gave us our chart, gave us a preview of where we were going to hit, this, that, and the other, and so forth. And then the next, next morning, they brought the charts out, and then that night is when the next morning is when the Enola Gay took off.
But that night that you were loaded up, you were loading up, and this was in probably early August 1945.
This was...
the bomb was dropped, I believe, in August the 3rd or something.
August the 6th.
August 6th.
This was, when we came in there, was 2 days before. When we got through the, yeah, that's right. No, 2 days before. And then the next day is when we loaded up.
When he showed you the charts, was it a chart of one of the
Actual
islands?
Invasion Beach, yeah. That was
X-ray,
Kyushu Island, the beach area where we were going to actually land. Yeah.
And you knew this was coming there, but then the next night, and y'all stood by.
Yeah.
And they kept on loading, and the next night they dropped the bomb.
Well,
and Japan though didn't surrender.
No.
But y'all just sort of.
No. What we did, I was on watch the morning that they took off to drop the bomb. I saw those 3 planes take off.
You saw them take off?
We were anchored just off the Tinian.
You had no idea what they were. You just 3 planes.
No. But we had Saipan and Tinian is about, it's not any distance apart. It's probably half a mile between those 2 islands. And we were anchored with 2 airports on Tinian and 1 on Saipan. And they'd fly about 750 to 800 planes a day out of there. And the night after we got our charts, all this stuff, after we loaded up and whatever, and before we got it, we already had a chart. I drew the 12 to 4 watch. Those planes left, I think somewhere around 3:30 or something like that. And I was on watch, and I was up at the conning tower, and I turned around to the guy on watch room, and I said, 3 planes, that's all. I don't hear the engine running over there. It's just dead calm. I said, I don't know what's happening, but it must be something big. Well, we found out that night it was something big. That's what.
And they told you the next day what happened, probably. And it was then 2 or 3 days later they dropped it on Nagasaki.
Well,
And-
well, it was, I think it was 3, I'm not sure what, 3 or 5 days later.
And
It wasn't much, I mean, it was, I had that in my mind,
Did
I
you-
forgot the date.
that's all right. But did you guys sitting around there talking, did y'all have any idea that the war might be coming?
Well, yeah, we had a good idea now. 2 days after they dropped that bomb, they come out and picked up our charts. Later they ordered us into the ramp. We unloaded those tanks.
Oh, you unloaded?
This is 1 day later. Yeah. Unloaded those tanks, picked up our charts, unloaded those tanks, and we were standing charter room in, the skipper, the executive officer, captain said, well, what do you think about this? And I said, you go ahead and tell her. He said, no, you tell us what you think. I said, this damn thing's over. They sent us back to Okinawa with a load of grease. And when we
A
came,
load of grease.
yeah, oil, you know,
I mean,
and
for-
grease, and
yeah.
the thick axle grease
Mhm.
type stuff, all that kind of mess. And we came straight back from into Saipan from Okinawa. All those ships were gone. Nothing there. Now, but
Yeah.
coming out of there, I had something very interesting. We had, I was on watch, and it was 12 to 4, had to be 12 to 4 watch again. We always listened to Tokyo Road. And I'll go up to the chart room, I go up there 25, 30 minutes ahead, just find what all went on the watch in front of them and so forth. And I turned, most of the guys that listened to us, I turned it on. And I remember right on 12 o'clock, just before she went off air, she said, I got good news for you GIs tonight. I thought, what the hell is this? This war's fixing to be over. And she went off there. And I was in the chart room. I asked OD up on these two days above me. I said, sir, did you hear that? And he said, I sure did. I said, what did she say? He said, she said, you can listen to the voice, you can hear it up there. He said, she said the war's fixing to be over. I said, he said, when I would wake up the crew, I said, that'd be your duty, sir. I'd like to do it, but he said, let's wake him up. So he signed it, General Porter, and then he said, correction on that, we got some good news. And we could not get anything on the radio from anybody, anything about it. If we had a radio, you could pick up stuff all over the world, you know. And a receiver. And so they all thought that we were, you know, gone nuts or this, that, and the other and so forth. And so the next morning I got up and went up. I said, I'll go up there. I wasn't on, fixed to go and watch. So I went up there and turned the radio on. And I finally found a Swiss station that made some mention of it. And then about 30, 40 minutes later, BBC was on reporting what Tokyo Rose had said. And so then we turned it on the PA system so everybody aboard the ship could hear what was going on. And really, basically, that's when we celebrated VJ Day.
You hadn't got anything except from Tokyo Rose. And, well, when did they come through and tell you?
Most of the time, she tell you the truth about something.
Well, when did they come through and tell you that the Japanese had surrendered?
Yeah, best I remember, it was several days, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
But you wasn't in combat and everything was quieted down.
I tell you how long after the first bomb, it was right after, best I remember, it was a couple of days, a day after they dropped the second one. It's been about 5, 6 days later, something like that.
That's about right. Yeah. But now, the surrender ceremony didn't take place until sometime in September.
That's right.
What did y'all do in the meantime? Did you
Well, you know, this is.
you had a lot of people out there that needed supplies.
This is an innocent thing, but now, during all that war, everybody on that ship, the crew is like a family. And they look after each other, you know what I mean? You get to be a tight-knit group and so forth. And there was never any, very little fussing and fighting or anything like that went on. And we had more difficulties after we knew the war was over. Before VJ Day, and it became a very disgruntled bunch of folks. The only thing about was going home.
Well, now, this is the same crew that had been with you since you picked the boat up, the ship on, I know not to call it a boat, call it a ship, and New Orleans.
Yeah.
This was the same crew. Loyd, were you ever assigned, I was reading about this the other day, to transport any of the Japanese back to Japan who might be stranded in the Philippines? Was that ever assigned?
No, I left about, we went into, we carried that, as I said while ago, we carried the 6th Army Headquarters Group and representatives from all the Allied nations into Wakayama, Japan. And we had more generals and admirals than you could shake a stick at.
Aboard this?
That's one of the newest ones they had, and they put a huge freezer on the main deck, an auxiliary generator, and we had steaks, all kinds of best food. Most of those admirals and generals said that they never eat that food like that since they've been in the service.
Well, you mentioned that
it takes 5 days to go up there. See.
Oh, okay. But you mentioned something that we didn't pick up on. They told you to shut down the water purification unit when you were going into Guam.
Back up on into Saipan.
Saipan. Why'd they do that?
Well, that's because that's not really. It's not like a boiler, and it's a sort of like a steam, more like a steam generator or something like that. It takes the salt out of the water. But
you had all that trash in there. I see. Okay.
And they didn't want that clogging.
Okay. Okay, the war pretty well was over by September. Did they head you guys back to the States, or?
No, we stayed out there. I got into Seattle. No, we made a trip to Wakayama. Okay, then we came back and we made a trip and hauled a bunch of food, all kinds of supplies into Nagoya. And I believe we made 2 trips into Nagoya, yeah. And Nagoya is one of the cities they burned. That's a city of 2 million population, not a single house left. And there was very few masonry buildings in it, and so they really would look like a prairie. And the only thing left was a huge aircraft manufacturing plant. Mitsubishi, I guess it was a Zero fighter plant, and the dock, and that was all still intact. But and then I took pneumonia on the second trip up and coming back. I took pneumonia. I went into the hospital in Saipan. And stayed there. I like to die on the ship, and stayed there for about 10 days. And then I had enough points to come home, so I left the ship, went into a tent city they had there, and picked up a transport and came back into Seattle through the North Pacific into Seattle. And I was actually in Seattle Christmas Day of 1945. I was discharged, I believe, the 5th of January in 1945.
And you came home. Yeah. And that was what an experience all that was. Before you cut down, is this a picture of the...
That's the main deck. This is, now on the lower deck, you carry 11 Sherman tanks. And this is the service vehicles, including an ambulance, the ammunition wagons, the fuel, water, and everything it takes to service 11 Sherman tanks. And by the way, that takes about 500 men also.
Well,
We killed all the troops and the equipment.
But would you transfer as a, would that be a unit, say, a battalion? Or
No, I'm not familiar with how they operate, but,
No.
that,
It was probably a tank regiment,
yeah.
yeah,
they went to regiments.
probably, I'm not familiar with it.
Just for the record, Tom, can you pick that up? That is an outline, that's a picture of the structure of the LST that Loyd was on that might be of interest. And you got it?
Got it.
Sure, the entire ship,
We got that, didn't
I don't know, I don't think.
we? Did we get that? Yeah, we got that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Loyd, this has been very, very interesting, and we want to thank you on behalf of the Southwest Georgia Regional Library. We appreciate your putting your experiences into the history of Decatur County. Thank you very much for,
Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
and that concludes our interview.